Agent mastery is one of the most beautiful things you can achieve in Valorant. There's no better feeling than when you're able to absolutely take control of a game on your main agent of choice. Brimstone players clutching up a post plant with their lineups and ultimate, Jett players getting a flashy ace with their movement abilities, Killjoy's putting players in a toaster over her setups. Every agent has their own little quirks that make them good in the right hands, and that's why today we wanted to go over those quirks for each and every agent, just to give you guys a little bit more of an edge over the competition. If you're looking for a big edge though, we highly recommend checking out our agent courses over at SkillCapped. Each course was handmade by some of the best players in the game, many of which actually created by players with thousands of hours on that specific agent. They've learned the ins and outs of their agents completely, and they'll share everything they know with you in just a quick hour-long course. Along with this, once you get some practice, site subscribers can share their gameplay with our coaches over on the Discord, and they'll give you feedback on how you can improve immediately. This is a massive advantage for any players looking to climb, so don't be afraid to click that link below and get started. Alright, moving into our first tip, we have Brimstone. Now, one mistake that a lot of Brimstone players make is using his Orbital Strike ultimate in positions where it just doesn't get that much value. To get the most out of this powerful ultimate, make sure enemies are trapped in corners. That'll ensure it'll grab your team kills or zone the enemies enough to help your team win the round. Don't waste it on an open area where enemies can easily move out of range. Moving on to Viper. Her Snakebite Molotovs can be very tempting to use to stall the spike defuse and post-plant situations, but they have a lot of other great uses as well. Try using them to stall the enemy's retake or to provide your team safety when scaling up. Don't get too caught up in using Snakebite just to stall the spike defuse. Just because they're good for post-plant, it doesn't mean you need to throw them on the spike. You can use it to stall the defuse for the next few seconds, but you can also use it to disrupt the enemy's retake, which will deny just as much time, as well as maybe grab your team a few kills. Who knows? Alright, sticking with our controller theme. Omen's ultimate can often feel useless, but believe it or not, it can actually be used as if it were a massive jet dash. This allows you to pinch enemies on sight as your team pushes by teleporting into spawn. You can also use this ability to pick up the spike or even pick up weapons if you're good enough. Omen's ultimate is highly underrated, and it should be definitely used more often to get good angle on your teammates and help your team win the round. Next up, we have Killjoy. Many Killjoy players like to set up all their utility in one place, which a lot of people refer to as a toaster oven setup. However, by spreading out Killjoy's utility, you can often provide your team with more value by allowing them to rotate more freely around the map. Don't go and get too caught up with these toaster oven setups. Spreading out your utility is a great way to provide guaranteed value by allowing your team to have info across the map, whereas stacking your setups all in one place is a bit more of a gamble since you can't be certain they'll come towards your side. Alright, moving on to Cypher. He can still benefit from the same tip as Killjoy. However, a bigger problem he has is his tripwires can get broken pretty easy by a lot of utility in the game. To counteract this, try to plan out in advance what abilities you think the enemies might use, and then place your tripwires in a way that they won't get broken by the enemy's utility. Cypher's a lot about reading your opponents and where they want you to go so you can catch them off guard. So by adjusting your tripwires to specifically counter whoever's on the enemy team, you can find a lot of success in that. On the same topic of information, Sova's drone is probably his most powerful and underrated tool. Make sure you're using this ability every single round and constantly communicating what you're seeing so your teammates can follow up off it. And if your teammates aren't following your drone, the value it provides is severely diminished. So yeah, it's very important that you're drone for a teammate when you use it and communicate that they should play behind it. Now, for one of the most basic but also important tips that players seem to forget, when playing as Sage, make sure you're not going in first when you have Raze. Always try to make sure a teammate's going ahead of you and you're not risking your life while your ultimate's available. If Sage gets picked off before she can ult, you lose so much potential in the round. So make sure you're always baiting your teammates when you have it up. Trust me, you'll thank us later. Alright, let's talk about Jett. As one of the most mobile agents in the game, Jett's movement abilities can make or break a round, but there's one key tip that can take your Jett gameplay to the next level. Rebind your dash to a mouse button. By default, Jett's dash ability is bound to the E key, which might be a little awkward to use in the heat of the moment. By rebinding it to a mouse button, you can quickly and easily disengage from fights or move to a better position. But that's not all. You should also make sure to use Jett's abilities to gain the highest possible advantage in a fight. For example, her smokes can be used to block off enemy vision, giving you and your team an opportunity to push onto site or reposition safely. In addition, her ultimate Blade Storm can be used to quickly snowball an eco round when you land your shots. Remember, Jett is all about mobility and precision. So get out there, practice using her abilities in creative and fun ways, and focus on mastering her movement to truly dominate on the battlefield. Moving on to another duelist who had the spotlight at the beginning of Valorant, Phoenix isn't exceptional very much these days, but because his ultimate is so cheap and provides an extra life, you should be looking to farm ultimate orbs and use it as frequently as you can, especially with maps like Lotus and Fracture offering up the potential of 3 and 4 orbs around. You could definitely be ulting a lot on Phoenix. Next up, we have Reyna. Reyna is one of the biggest powerhouse carry agents in the entire game. However, like with Jett, it's not about abilities, it's about the mindset. To get the most out of Reyna, you need to be aggressive and confident. Always be looking for an opportunity to take a fight and be prepared to use your abilities to give you the edge. That being said, it's important to remember to not get too greedy and always have an exit strategy in mind. When you land your kills, think beforehand where you're going to dismiss towards after. By having an escape route planned, you'll prevent yourself from overextending and be ready to move as fast as possible during those multi-kill scenarios. Moving on to Raze. The key to playing Raze is to practice your satchels. This ability allows you to move unpredictably and quickly, which is what separates a good Raze from a bad one. If you don't know how to satchel as Raze, you'll probably be better off playing as Jett or Reyna instead. You should also use your satchels to bump enemy players and throw off their aim. This can definitely give you the upper hand in a gunfight. Additionally, don't forget to use your blast packs to get yourself out of sticky situations or just to reach higher ground. Raze is all about mobility and utilizing her abilities to get the most out of her kit. Alright, this next one is a really good agent that combos really well with Raze. Breach is a bully and you should play him like one. His abilities are all about controlling the battlefield and punishing the enemy team. Don't be afraid to spam his abilities aggressively to take control of a site or to prevent the enemy team from pushing. When playing Breach, communication is key. Call out every ability you use. Coordinate with your team to ensure that your abilities are being used to their fullest potential. Sky's flashes can provide some of the fastest info gathering in the entire game, so be sure to use them often at the start of the round. Another thing that most Sky players forget is they can be used to assist your teammates from super far away. By throwing your guiding light from a distance, you can assist your teammates with a peek from very far away, allowing for some really incredible plays. Speaking of blinds, Yoru's decoy is a useful tool that will blind all enemies looking at it, so use this ability and follow up quickly behind the decoy to get the most value. Enemies will frequently shoot the decoy, allowing you to get an easy trade and kill. You can also send the decoy backwards if you think the enemy's holding your position. Honestly, baiting them out to shoot it and then picking them off yourself, it's an easy kill. Many agents in Valorant actually excel with this sort of deception. Astra's fake stars can be used to bait players into walking into them, and this is especially effective when paired with her gravity well ability, which can pull enemies into the fake stars and leave them vulnerable for a quick kill. And additionally, Astra's ultimate can be a game changer in post-plant situations. Use the wall to allow yourself to create plays. Scale up safely with the muffled audio and protection that it provides. It can be especially great for creating chaos when you're down in numbers, making it a great tool for clutching as well. Alright, now we're making our way to the last few agents. Kayo's knife. It's one of the best abilities for running it down at the start of a round. Keep in mind who you tag with it, and if you're pushing a site where you know they can't molly, you can basically run it down. If they can't use abilities, it's going to be really hard for them to stop your push. Make sure you still flash though, otherwise you might still get killed. Now let's talk about Chamber, an agent that requires precision and careful planning to be successful. On eco rounds, it can be difficult to secure a kill and pick up a weapon, but Chamber's Headhunter ability can make all the difference. Try to position yourself in a spot where you can take advantage of the enemy's movements, and then use your deagle to secure a quick pick. Then transfer the gun to a teammate and let them take the lead. This can help your team snowball an eco round in your favor and make a big impact on the game. Neon's movement speed. It's one of her greatest strengths, but it can also be a weakness if you're not careful. One mistake many players make with Neon is holding the W key when approaching enemies. However, for Neon, this is twice as important due to how fast she can actually move. Instead, make sure you're always strafing around enemies when you're approaching them, so it's difficult as possible for them to track you. With her unique movement abilities, Neon's a valuable asset to any team, and mastering her movement can help you take your game to the next level. Let's talk about Fade next. Her haunt ability is incredibly strong, but it's also very easy to shoot. So make sure you're throwing it really high up when you can, so it gathers as much info as possible without getting shot down. Don't just throw it in the middle of a fight or near an enemy who's actively looking for it. And also, keep in mind your ultimate can be used to gather an incredible amount of information when your team pushes in. Be sure to call out how many you tag so your teammates know what to expect on the site. With careful planning and strategy, Fade can be a very effective agent in pretty much any situation. Moving on to Harbor. His smokes can be pretty much broken in the right hands, but they need to be used correctly. It's important to practice throwing down your wall as much as possible, since a bad wall can really screw your team up. Harbor can be an exceptional agent, but remember your teammates aren't used to playing with Harbor, so you need to make it as easy as possible for them to play around your smokes. You might need to communicate a bit more on this agent for the same reason that players won't know exactly how he works, so you're gonna have to help him out. Gekko's another agent that requires this sort of communication as well as careful planning and precision. His biggest strength is that he can recycle his abilities often, so always be mindful of where they're going so you can take advantage of it. When using his utility, always think about where it's gonna land and how you can use that to your advantage. With his flash Dizzy, it's also really important to get up as high as possible so it's difficult for your enemies to shoot it, similar to Fade. Dizzy can act as a beacon in the sky that's ready to tag all enemies it sees. Just try to get it up there and let Dizzy do the rest. And there you have it. One game-changing tip for every agent in Valorant. Remember, if you're looking to master any of these agents, receive coaching from our elite coaching staff, be sure to check out SkillCapped with the link in the description below. We also upload all of our coaching sessions to the website for everyone to view so you can learn from players just like you in all ranks. It's as if you're getting access to hundreds of coaching sessions for the price of one, which is actually pretty phenomenal if you ask me. So, be sure to check it out with the link in the description for a limited time discount. And other than that, we here at SkillCapped want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.